Hello and welcome back to another video in which I am looking at getting started with OpenInsight 10. You're listening to Martin, and today we're going to be fixing up that image so that we can show the patient image on our form. Now, whilst I've been away, I've done a little bit of background work. Not a lot. I've just dropped a folder where our images are located under OpenInsight, and in that folder I have created an awaiting image, and I've just grabbed a number of just generic pictures for the patients. Obviously in the real world you'd have proper pictures of them, and I haven't got them, so we're just going to go with those. So I've created all those images, and one of the things that we will need to do is to create a new image component for one of those. And the one that we're going to pick is going to be our default image. So if we just come down to patients, the awaiting image, file, save, and this is going to be mp_png. Now this is a 280 by 280 image, which is absolutely fine for what we want, but it does mean that I'm going to change the size of this bitmap here. Now I'm actually going to change the name as well. I'm going to call this bmp_image, and I'm going to change the width to 280 and the height to 280. Now it's immediately messed up my form, which is a bit of a pain, but we can easily fix that up by making the tab control a little bit deeper. Oops. And we'll make this panel a little bit deeper as well. Okay, it doesn't need to be overly deep. Let's just move that down to there. We'll then move this button across, so that's located thus. Then we can just move that up slightly, and we'll bring that over. Now we have created ourselves a bit of a problem in that the forenames and surnames now are a little bit long, because if we bring in the tab control accordingly, so possibly to there, then we're a little bit out. In fact, I think I probably want to come over just a little bit more to keep it the same size here. So let's just bring that in to 680. That's a bit better. It's nicely lined up. So our forenames and surname controls, we could probably reduce that down to 150, I think. Does that work? And we'll just bring these over a little bit. It probably wants to be about there, I think. So we can probably just make these slightly wider. So probably make those, yeah, once you can just be fiddling around with bits and pieces in here to get things nicely aligned. So if we make that one 172, and we'll make this one 172 as well. It's just a demo, so I'm not going to spend forever. That will probably do. I've got a slight difference in distance there, so we'll just move that one over. Okay, that will do me. Right, the image URL we're not actually going to be using, I don't think, so I'm going to delete that. I don't particularly want the word image path in there. And what we'll do is to cut, and we will select our panel and control and paste, and then we'll just move that up. Okay, where is it? Okay, it's too far over. So 200, there we go. That was too far over to the right. This is where having the properties display on the right hand side is useful, because you can see where the controls are. So that was Control and T to align those to the top, and we will align that to the left with a Control L, and then we'll just resize this control accordingly. Okay, so what we have here now is an issue where this panel is much longer than this one. So what we might want to do is look and see whether we want to put some more controls in, or whether we can move some controls around. So what I'm going to do is actually let's just make these two panels the same height. So if we do a right mouse click and maximum height, then we can see what we're working with. We'll grab these controls and we'll just bring those down so that they're in line with, so the signature on file is in line with this edit line here. And in fact, for that one, I'm going to change the text align to center left, so that way the text is in line. And I think that we will just bring down the address edit table just to fill that gap. Okay, so that looks a bit nicer. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is to change the default image. So we come down to images, change the default to our awaiting one that we had. So I'm looking for that one there, and we'll align that to the center. I think everything else is okay in there. And the other thing I want to do in here is put a 2 pixel border all the way around. I'm not going to make them rounded. If I wanted to make them rounded, I could put a radius in here of, let's say, 5, and then it exposes the rounded corners, but I don't want to have those, so we'll just stick with the squared off ones. So that's fine. Then the next thing that we need to do is on our EDL image path line, so this one here, we need some code. So I think the code that we want is on the changed event. Let's just copy this code in. So we declare some functions, so get property, set property, and repository. We will then clear the current image and reload the image with the appropriate one for the record. So this will create the path for it. And then this here is another way of doing comments. So if you want to comment out an individual line, so if I just bring these over here, so we're commenting out this individual line with an asterisk, and I tend to put asterisks and then 2 slashes and a space because I indent my code for characters. But if you do slash asterisk and asterisk slash, then you can comment out a whole block of text if you wish to. So if the path to, so we get the path from the path to bitmap control, the EDL image path, and if that is null, then we'll do this, otherwise we'll do this. So your developers, you'll know what that code is all about. So if we do a compile to make sure that it compiles, and I'm just going to double check, if I grab that, I'm going to double check that my name is the same. It was, but I just wanted to be sure. Now we've got a button as well that we need to drop some code onto. So this button here, which is not aligned, so let's just do a control top, that's better. And if we go events and a click event on here, and sometimes OI drops additional spaces in. I'm not quite sure why it does this, so I'm just going to take those spaces out. So this code basically opens up the Windows Explorer and enables us to locate a file, and the file extensions that we're going to allow are PNGs, JPEGs, all files, and bitmaps. Okay, so we will compile, and we will save and close, and we'll just save and close that one. And the other thing that we can do in OI10, if we come down to the miscellaneous, we can put in an autocomplete list, which doesn't quite make sense, but we can enable that, and then the autocomplete source will give us a number of options. So we've got a custom list, files only, folders only, history, MRU and all. So we could enable the users to autocomplete this. So I'm going to go files only. Let's just try that one, and we'll actually have suggest and append. So you can have it disabled, append, suggest, and suggest append. So I'm going to go with that one. And if we then test run that form, when we click on the button, we can locate an image. That will then drop the path into the edit line and display that image. And if we clear it, we go back to the default image. Now, because we just did that type ahead, if I start typing in here, so I do C:\\, Open Insight begins to prompt me for the location. So I can go to RevSoft, and we can pick up RevSoft, and then if I put another slash in there, then I can pick up the what can I pick up? I'll pick up the MP Clinic. So you can see this type ahead. This doesn't really work in this instance because the button is so much easier, but if you wanted to have this type ahead for any of your controls, then that works very, very well, and we'll probably use that example in a few other locations. So for record number 1, I haven't got a title because we haven't sorted that out. That'll need to be done in a different lesson. The tab order is off. That's something else for another lesson. And I'll just put some details in here. So Boundary House, Boston Road. Again, town, we haven't got anything in there. And W72QE. Signatures on file, and which image should I have? I think I'll have this one here. So open. Okay, so if we then close, now Open Insight has a feature built in with it, which is called Save Warn, and when you've made changes to your form, Open Insight will prompt you, do you want to save it? You don't need to do anything, that's all out of the box. So if we do a yes, that will now have saved that record. So if we test run that again, we should now be prompted for record number 2. If I change that back to number 1 and tab off, then we get our data returned. So we've just saved our first record in our application. Woohoo! Right, okay, so I think that what we can do now is just move that up slightly so we've got a nice distance around. So the height, just change that to 4. So I think we've pretty much got a 2 pixel all the way around there. Now that we're done here, I'm going to select both of those controls and change the translucency to 100. So that's nice, and okay, that's fine. Now if we come down to our second page, you're now going to find that the edit box that we put on here is now in the wrong place. It's not in the wrong place, it's just too far across. So we will resize that, making a note that it's 664 and 344. And if we come down, so we go width 644, and we'll do the same for that one. Whoops, no, wrong shortcut key on that. I want to control an I. Okay, let's just move that one over. Actually, if I got that right, to 6664. better, and 664 on there, and we can now actually move this down a bit. And we'll extend that down. And I just want to check if I still got that in the right place. So that's left 16. No, left 20. So we'll change that to 16 as well. And change that to 16. Okay, that's better. And then we can drag our window to there, and if we now test run that form, that's looking a lot nicer. Okay, one of the things I am going to do is I'm going to come up to here and I'm going to get rid of that text because we really don't want that in there, and we will save and close. We will go back to our MDI main window, and in here, let's just make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to add a new button, push button. I'm going to drop that onto the toolbar here. Okay, and this is going to be btn_patients, and we'll call this patients. Oops. We'll come down to the glyph. Actually, we'll come down to the, glyph is fine in this instance, I think. And we'll grab the users. Okay, it looks like I don't have a user icon, so we'll go and grab one quickly. I need my graphics library, so let's just insert the USB stick quickly. So this is not great, but this is showing how easy it is to add things as you're going through. You don't have to get everything right immediately. So plain, we'll go user, and the user that we'll go for is going to be, can't find it, that one there. So we'll do a copy. We'll come back to where Open Insight is installed, into here, and we'll come down to Clinic, Images, Buttons, and we'll drop the button into here, and we'll go 16 underscore, come out of here, then we will create the graphic. So new image components, PNG. Sorry, you see me do this a few times. Uh, 16 user, file, save, and be PNG. So okay that. We'll then come back into our glyph. We'll grab that user 3, and we'll have that to be center left. So okay that, and then in the events, when that is clicked, we'll run a quick event, and the quick event is going to be to start MDI child window, and down here where you've got the name of the child, we are going to want to pick our window, and we can't actually pick it from a list here, so what I'm going to do is just change this to MP_patients, and we don't need a create param, so I'll just clear that out. So we'll click OK. We will save and close. Don't need that anymore. And then if we test run our form, theoretically now we should get the patient window come up, and because we asked it to display in the middle of our the parent window, that displays in the middle, whereas for our system codes we just let it put it wherever it wants. So but once we're in the MDI frame, we can move these around as much as we want. Now there is going to be an issue when we maximize this window. For instance, if we did ask for this button to be disabled, if you remember, but it's added it into the window running as an MDI frame, and also we asked it to fix the width and the height. But if we actually hit the maximize, then it will maximize the screen, and for this window it's going to look really wrong. Yeah, that's something that we will need to fix up. So if I come back to our main window, I did close it. So if we come back to the main window and we test run that, if it's running as a normal window, then we don't have the ability to resize it. That functionality is overwritten when it's run as an MDI child. So we'll probably have a look at fixing it up in the next lesson, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how to do it right now. We'll find out. Anyway, that's it for this lesson. Hopefully you found it useful, and I'll see you on the next lesson coming very soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.